I have some thoughts about the Style Riders show in Star Stable that I would like to share, and I'm also really interested to hear what you think about these things. And just as a disclaimer, I'm aware that the way this event worked this time was just the initial test, kind of, and they will be changing things in the future. And I hope they will do an official survey to gather feedback from players so that they can make the event better in the future. But yes, first of all, I have to say that it is just so great that for once Star Stable is actually doing something that makes this game feel more like a multiplayer game. And overall, having a fashion show is a really good idea, and there is a lot of potential, it just needs some development. And there are a few things that obviously should be fixed, such as invisible horses in the voting and no makeup and hair station. But there is quite a lot of other things that I wanted to talk about. First of all, the results board. It is a bit confusing, like what do the numbers mean? It was a bit confusing to get a mail saying that congrats, you placed in the top 15, and then on the results board it says you placed 75th or something, since it doesn't say that those placement numbers are server-wide. It would also be helpful to know how many entries there was in total per category, otherwise the numbers don't really tell you much. And also I have a question about how do the total placements get counted, since many players have the exact same points. As far as I know, there was no shared places. There were many times when people had the exact same points, but they didn't share a placement. And that is obviously an issue. It would also be very nice if you could go back and look at the results of the previous days, as in actually seeing the outfits that won, also to see all of your own submissions, and especially seeing the outfits with the most points in total per category in the entire server. And I've seen some people complaining about the rewards, that it's not even worth logging in for. It could be a bit more, but in my opinion it would be even better if we got those gemstone things that you can sell, because that way you can actually store the shillings. And getting a shirt for making it to the finals was nice, no complaints about that. And then something I also saw people talking about was that they were disappointed that the event wasn't in the Jorvik City Mall. The developers answered this question by saying that it would take so long to update that area and that they weren't able to figure out how to get the horses there. And I mean, I get it, but at the same time it would be really nice if it was in Jorvik City, just because otherwise nobody has any reason to go there, it's just a completely forgotten area. But personally, I don't really care that much where the event is. I'm more just nostalgic for the ones that we used to have back in the day. But obviously this is much better because this is actually something you can do and not just Raptor doing a show and having a few quests to do there. Then to one of the most crucial things that I hope will get changed, the poses. They are honestly pretty bad, and there should be more variation of poses that actually showcase the outfit. Some of them were more hiding it than showing it off. There could maybe also be an option to choose if you want your character to be mounted, because an outfit looks totally different depending on if you're in the saddle or on the ground. But I do like that we are next to the horse, because it's much easier to make an outfit that way, especially now with the wardrobe being set up the way it is and you have to exit the wardrobe to see how it looks when you're mounted. And also the color matching is a bit more forgiving that way. As we all probably know, it can be really hard to find items that are not part of a set that actually match. And this is a problem in general in Star Stable, and it kind of always has been that way. And it is such a shame because it really restricts you a lot when it comes to making outfits. I also saw some people saying that everyone should have access to everything in the global shop, otherwise it's unfair to new players. But if that was implemented, then we should also have access to all horses as well, because the horse also changes the overall look a lot. Same goes with hairstyles and makeup, everything should then also be available for everybody. And if that was the case, I wouldn't have anything against it. It would be pretty great, as long as you can still access the items that are not in the global shop. But at the same time, I think the current system is okay and it does motivate players to expand their wardrobe and get new pieces. And I think it's good that you can't use magic codes, because those would give a pretty big advantage. And as someone who has played this game for I think 13 years, I have quite a big collection of clothes, so I can only imagine the frustration of newer players who could make really nice outfits if they had access to more clothes. Especially I think this time around with the fantasy role-playing teams, but I'm not sure which would be best. So I would love to hear your opinions on this. Which way do you think it should be and why? But if the system would stay as it is, something could be done in the voting to make things more fair for beginners. In general, the voting I think needs to be different. It would be nice if there was not just essentially yes/no voting. It would be at least good if you could give a bit more votes to the ones that you really like a lot. This time I found myself skipping a lot of submissions since they didn't reach quite the same level as some of the best ones I had seen. And it felt pretty bad because I would have liked to give at least some points to them, because they were good outfits, they just weren't as good as some of the other ones. I came up with one idea how to improve the voting, which would maybe be hard to implement, but I think it could work really well, and it would also prevent people from giving bad scores to others to do better themselves. So it would work so that you can vote on one group at a time, and how we vote is you award, let's say, 5 points to your favorite, 4 to your second favorite, 3 points to the third, and so on. And you have to award all your points. And of course you can't vote in your own group. If this was the system, then the groups would probably have to be smaller, maybe around 10 entries per group, but it would make voting a lot more fun and interactive, and possibly more fair if the groups were based on the player level, kind of how the championship groups work. Another option would be that you get shown 2 entries at a time, and then you choose between the two which one you like more, and the points get awarded that way. It could of course also just be that there is skip like and super like or something like this. But that was pretty much everything I had to say about the event. It's been a while since I felt strongly enough about anything in Star Stable to make this kind of video about it. The last time was 3 years ago when the characters got updated, and at that point I was pretty done with the whole game. I've been playing regularly still, but I haven't really cared enough to bother to make a video about it. But now this year Star Stable has managed to do some really good improvements, and I hope they keep developing the Style Riders show to become even better. And I'm still waiting for more body shapes and facial customization, but let's see if that ever happens. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments your opinions about the Style Riders show.